My hair's in the way. Okay. Hi everyone. This is Anthony. Probably the lights are not on too well, but I just thought I'd do a live stream from my kitchen. And the purpose of this live stream, my idea was just to take some books and share with you a little bit about what I'm reading. Also, things that I started reading but then stopped. Then also the reasons why I should probably take those books and read them again. I'll start with that point. That point being the books I'm going to share. I am interested in I'm interested in the topics, but it's me relearning things that I've already discussed in the past. And so in this example, what I've decided to do is take the books that I bought that I'm interested in and invite you along into the process so that we can learn together. Because I think if I approached it more from being a teacher, someone who's sharing, someone who can invite someone into what I find interesting, then it'll give me more incentive to learn and also drive me forward with that. So going forward, first book that I want to pick up right here is this one right here, which is the Penguin Book of Classical Myths. And the reason why I picked up this book is because probably by the name of the channel, you know already that I really like to study ancient history, but mythology has never been the thing that has really driven me in studying ancient history. I took one class in college. I learned much about Greek myths in the past, but nothing really ever clings or sticks to my mind, in particular to very specific myths when they come along. So that's the reason why I got this book. But for me, a lot of the material, especially at the beginning, I've already covered previously. So after a while, I was starting to get a little bit bored. But I think in particular, the very first chapter, which is about creation, is very fascinating because from which unfortunately I also got bored with, but I do still think it's fascinating. The Greek idea behind creation, behind creation is that, I'll just start over. Greek myths in general, I'll say, have to do with causation and asking the question of why. So why does it rain? Why are there thunderstorms? Why are we alive? Why are we the way we are, the way we think we are, our nature, our habits, and so forth. So all Greek myths, for the most part, some stories are more about drama and they're more theatrical for that effect, for entertainment. But in reality, when you look at the very early Greek myths, it's all about why does the world exist? Why is it the way it is? And how do we fit into it? And so forth. So, for instance, the first part has to do with creation. The next part has to do with the creation of man. And such, there was a golden race of man, and then a silver age, and then I think I forget. Eventually we get to the Iron Age, which is us. So we're cool, but we're not that cool. And so forth. So this is one book I recommend. Another one, which I've read a couple of times since I live here in Rome. This is a guide to the Vatican. And a guide being that if you are traveling to St. Peter's, to the Vatican, and you're going to visit also the Vatican museums, it has a very good explanations written out here to all the essentials that you would find on your journey during your visit. So the book starts with, actually the second part of the book is the Vatican museums. The first part is St. Peter's. But the thing about the Vatican museums, someone told me this, I think it would take you 20 years to see everything in the Vatican museums, and I've been there 3 times. I feel like I've seen everything, but in fact, I probably haven't. Allora, I found a bookmark. So the Basilica of San Lorenzo, interesting. So if you would like to ever visit the Vatican museums, or you just have a general interest, I would highly recommend this book. It's not too big. You can read the whole thing in a day or two, and it's not too bad. Next one. Okay. This one here, I came, I saw, I conquered. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Romans but were afraid to ask, by Peter Jones. Okay, this one is excellent at just picking random moments in Roman history and giving you maybe a 2 or 3 paragraph explanation as to what happened and why. So I like to read primary sources a lot. I think primary sources are the way to go when studying Roman history, but not everyone has time to read through everything else until you get to the main meat of like the story itself. So Livy in particular, I really love the book 1 of Livy. The other books, they're not my favorite because there's some information that in relating to an audience just isn't that important. This one, for instance, it gives you moments in history, it gives you characters, it also gives you themes. So it tells you what the 7 hills of Rome are and what their names are, it gives you the name of Italy, why Latin, or why people in Latium are called Latin, why they speak Latin, who are Romulus and Remus. April 21st, 753 tells you that's the birthday of Rome and why that matters, why we should know that, how we know it. Then it takes you through the early kings of Rome, talks to you about the religious sacrifices, some artwork too that they would also have. And it continues and it continues. Talks about Roman roads, what makes a road Roman, why they're impressive. Goes into finances and national debt and trade, banking. I've found often that the best thing when studying ancient Rome or talking about ancient Rome is to talk thematically and less about, there's Romulus and Remus and then there is Numa Pompilius and giving this whole sequential list of moments in time and characters. I think that making it as relatable as possible is the most important thing. Okay. This next one of my favorites, Thrilling Cities by Ian Fleming. This one is not about ancient history, but it does involve travel, which is what this channel is also about. And in that respect, Ian Fleming, if you don't already know the name, Ian Fleming is the writer, the author of the James Bond books. So before we had the James Bond movies, we had the James Bond books, the novels. And that is where the movies came from because Ian Fleming used to be an MI5 agent. So he took that experience as a spy and then wrote it into a series of novels, which are loosely based on his experience. What's great about this is, I don't know how many books he had written at this time, but this book is his experience traveling around the world, being paid by the New York Times to do so. And it takes you through his experiences. Or actually, it's him writing his experience, what he thinks about the cities. And it's like, we'll use the name Rick Steves, but from a spy's perspective. So he talks about, of course, where to eat, but, where to stay at hotels. But then he'll talk about the darker parts of town, things he noticed about the drug industry, other types of nefarious dealings there, things of a more exotic nature, history, culture. He travels all the way starting from Hong Kong. Hong Kong is his first city. He goes to Macau. And then from Macau, he goes to Tokyo, Honolulu, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas. So you hear a little bit of commentary in the United States. Chicago, that too. New York. And then he does a second series where he visits the cities of Europe, such as the ones in Germany, Hamburg and Berlin, followed by Vienna, Geneva and Switzerland, Naples and Italy, and so forth. So I highly recommend this book. Very cool. The Odyssey, something I pick up from time to time because it is just written so well. It's fantastic. But I have a confession to make, which is I went through all high school and college without reading this book because everyone already focused on the Iliad, and in my classical mythology course that I took in college, we never read it, and I studied everything. So, I always knew what happened in this book, but I never actually picked it up, so I'm glad to pick this up and share a little bit with you. This book, I bought it once, I looked at it once, and I haven't really looked at it again. I don't know why, because I mean, it has really nice pictures. I think it'd be nice for, this is St. Paul Outside the Walls. I think it'd be nice for anyone to pick it up and just get a nice overview of the Eternal City. But for some reason, maybe it's too generic, and I think I already know the answer. I already know all the answers. Maybe that's all I can say. So maybe if you aren't too familiar with Rome, this would be a better buy for you. If you've already been here before and you already have some knowledge, you can dig into. I have some other books too. If you want something a little bit more in depth than this is something very generic that you pick up at the tourist office, and it's okay. All right. So that wraps it up for this live stream. It's unlisted right now. I'm sorry it's so dark in this room, but I'm using a really old webcam. Hopefully the audio quality is okay too. All right. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.